The Body World split leg press. It is a great source of pain and suffering and also strength gains for people of all walks of life. Now here we're going to have a quick look at how to set it up and do it correctly. And there's a few different options that I'll show you of how you can set it up, how you can position yourself, and how that will affect your muscular development. So let's get into that. Now there's a few things that we can set up here. We can change the sled position, we can change the safety position, and we can change the angle of the foot plate. So first of all, with the sled position, you can see where those little holes are. You can adjust it, slides up and down. So the reason that you would adjust this is depending on your height. So if you're a little bit shorter, got shorter legs, you would have it all the way down here, like where I'm setting it up. If you're tall, got long legs, then you'd set it further back. Next, I'm gonna set up the safety. I'm just gonna demo what that actually will do. So the rack is disengaged, and that stopper is preventing the sled, the weight carriage from dropping any lower. So here you can see I'm letting the carriage drop all the way down, so make sure you've got that safety in to prevent it from crushing you if you can't push it back up for some reason. Now we can also adjust the position of this to increase the range of motion of the exercise. So if you'd like the carriage to be able to come down a little bit deeper, then just set it to a lower hole. By the same token, you can set it up a little bit higher, and you can just do a shorter range of motion. Next, this is how to adjust the foot plate itself. So that just changes the angle of it. This is mainly to do with comfort. So if you feel like you can't keep your heel on the foot plate as you're doing the exercise, then you could try just tilting it up a little bit. Careful how high you lift it though, because if it's up too high, then your foot might start to slide up as you're actually doing the exercise. So now let's have a look at the actual action of the exercise. Now there's a couple of options. You can see here that I am pushing both carriages up, and while I push with my right leg, my left leg is stabilizing the other one. Now what this does is it helps to stabilize your pelvis while it's under load. Now another option is to just leave one leg out, and that could just be wherever's comfortable. Now these two different ways of doing it are a little bit differently. It'll affect your body a little bit differently, and a lot of it is just down to what you're comfortable doing. Now next I want to give you a little comparison of this split leg press compared to the standard leg press that we have and that you'll also tend to find at most other gyms. Have a look at my body position here. So up the top, we're on the split leg and my torso is horizontal. On the bottom, we've got your standard leg press and my torso is kind of at a 45-degree angle. If we pause that at the deepest point of the movement, have a look at what is happening with my hip. There's a lot more hip flexion, so it's a deeper hip position on the bottom one, so that's your normal leg press, and it's not quite as deep at the top on the split leg press. Basically, this means that the range of motion for the hip joint on your normal leg press is a little bit more than what it is on this split leg press. But if we look at the knee angle, we've actually got a bigger bend in the knee on the split leg press. So judging by that, I would say that the split leg press has a little bit more balanced, it's a bit more of a balanced movement between the hip and the knee, whereas the standard leg press, it's probably a bit stronger on the glute than what it is on the knee joint. Now I'm not going to say whether one is better than the other. They're both great pieces of equipment, and depending on what your program and goals are, it might affect whether you want to use one or the other, or maybe even both. Next, we are going to look at foot position and how that affects the exercise. So first of all, we've got quite a high foot position. So my heel is closer to the top of the foot plate. Now, essentially how that changes the exercise is the higher up your foot is on the plate, the more the back of your leg is going to have to work. So we're talking the glute and the hamstring. Next up, we've got a more standard foot position. So this is just a little bit lower down the block, and it's a bit more balanced between the quads and the glutes. Now, next I'm gonna drop my foot position down a little bit more, and what this is going to do is gonna start to emphasize the quads a little bit more in the movement. Now, depending on your leg length, it'll affect if this is gonna be comfortable for you. This might be a balanced position for you, or it might be a little bit more quad dominant for you. Finally, I'm gonna bring my feet down even lower, and this is probably about as low as is comfortable for me. And you'll see as I get to the bottom of this movement, I've got a much bigger bend in my knee, and I'm getting to the point where I'm having trouble keeping my heel on the block. So you can see there at the bottom of the movement, my heel is coming up a little bit. Now, that is not an outright wrong thing to happen. It all depends on what you want to get out of the exercise. You might see in the corner, the top right corner of this video, there is a picture of Tom Platz, and he was really well known for doing super deep squats that had a really strong knee emphasis, which is a quad emphasis. So if you really want to smash those quads and your knees are comfortable with it, then you can take a lower foot position, and that will get a much bigger bend in your knee and target your quads a lot more, particularly at the bottom end of the range. It really does target that medialis, so that's the part of the quad that's on the inside of your leg, close to your knee. So there you have it, split leg press, how to set it up, how to do the action, and we've got a few different options there in terms of which muscles you want to emphasize more in the way that you do it. If you're a first-time user for this, what I would do is don't worry about which muscles you're focusing on. Just set it up so that you're comfortable, so that you can comfortably get out sort of 10 to 20 reps on it, and then start thinking about putting on weight. And then once you've been doing it for at least a couple of months in your program, then you can think about, okay, do I want to adjust it more for my quads or my glutes or whatever it is you want to do. And just a fun fact about this particular piece of equipment, as far as I know, there was only 2 of these ever made. First of all, there was this one, which Dad designed and got Tony Benza to make back in the late 80s, perhaps it might have been the early 90s. And there's one other one that I know of, which is at Andrew Bogut's gym in Carrum Downs. So it's a basketball gym. And yeah, he Tony Benza came out of retirement to make that for him, if I remember correctly. So there you go.